Our OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Little SGP for the game tonight, Raptors Nuggets. I saw the line was moving towards the Raptors, only like 3.5-point dogs.
Ooh. Dude, I saw that today, and I was scratching my head to why they would be 3.5 against the Nuggets. The Raptors are 11-15.
Exactly, and Denver's they've been dealing with injuries and stuff, but as far as I know, Jokic and Murray are going. And, if that's the case, what are you expecting out of the Raptors tonight? Yeah. I mean, Darko's he's waiting to get that dinner in, right? Like they've coming off a win. All right, we'll see what comes of it, right?
That's one. They got one in a row. Yeah.
Got to get to 3 for Darko to put the company card down. So Jack Armstrong will join us a little bit later in the hour. We'll get Jack's take on, the Raptors going into action with the champs in town tonight. Darren Dreger coming up here in a few moments. Saw just before we came on the air that the MLS schedule is out for next year at Toronto
Messi,
FC.
October 5th, isn't it?
October 5th, Messi's going to be up here, and it's the last game of the season. No one thinks he's going to play. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like they've had such a bad run here if you're Toronto FC. And if you're a big soccer fan in town, obviously you're banking on John Herdman and company improving the team, turning things around. I don't think it's reasonable to expect they completely turn it around in one season. But on top of it, it's not even about Toronto FC. Messi is the guy you want to see. You're dying to watch him play. And October 5th, it might be cold. He may just not play. They may already be in the playoffs. I think there's an international window right after that, which he may be waiting for to play for Argentina, assuming he will.
85% chance he doesn't play.
I was just going to say, what's your Jerry's percentage? This guy does not even land in Toronto.
Oh, man.
It's high, man.
Well, also because he plays in Miami all the time, so he's going to play all the nice weather games. October in Toronto, it's going to be rainy, cold, and windy, especially down by the lake there. You guys have been down there. It's windy down there. I don't know. It's unfortunate because we have such a passionate fan base, especially when it comes to soccer fans here in the city. And if that guy's coming in July, that's a sold-out BMO to see that guy. That's
exactly
one of the most marquee events that's ever rolled through that stadium.
Massive. It's almost like an exhibition. It's not even about Toronto FC and Miami and points on the line and wins and losses. It's simply a circus that Messi is coming through town. And obviously, you can't control the schedule. It's not easy to do. If you're a serious operation like Major League Soccer, you can't be thinking, well, we want to get him here or there. It's difficult to do. Ideally, you can pick your spots.
But don't you think they could throw him a bone?
Well, that's it. I mean, Toronto
a bone.
Yeah, it's because he missed. The thing is, when he signed there, they had already played up here. So he had already missed the boat last year. There wasn't the chance for him to come up here. And exactly, he plays here on a Saturday in July or August around the X or something. It would be bedlam.
Insane.
It's wild, man.
Bedlam.
And TFC won a championship fairly recently. I know it's not like last year, but they've been a relevant team fairly recently.
High spenders.
Big spenders, why does he need to be in, I don't know the schedule, but why does he need to be in Columbus or Cincinnati in July? Why can't it be Toronto? Toronto's a marquee city. It's a big sports town. It's a very passionate soccer fan base. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the allure to go somewhere else. They could have found a way to make that happen.
Ideally you do, but again, there's a lot of different things that go into it with different cups. And also, listen, he's not young. He might be injured anyway. Yeah, right? He got injured relatively quickly when he came over here. Who knows if he's committed to playing everywhere? Will he play in Cincinnati? Will he play in Columbus? Or is it going to get to a point where it's home games in New York, L.A.,
He won't play on turf. He won't play on turf. He's playing on grass only.
Right. So
if any of those cities that you just named are at least don't get snow or, maybe it wouldn't be as bad in October. That's where you would hope that he's not sitting there in Columbus or, maybe a southern state you could put him there in October and have the July date for Toronto.
Ideally. Yeah. Clearly, I got to believe Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment sent an email. Not that you can do anything now, but it's really October 5th, that's when he's coming up. Who knows if he's going to play. The playoffs will likely be determined at that point. I guess you got to hope it's a big game for Miami.
Yeah.
And that that he's committed to playing everywhere, right? Because like at that point, maybe the Jays are in the playoffs. The Leafs will be in town. Like, there's going to be a lot of competition. And if Toronto FC has an awful year again, the only thing people are going to want is to see Messi. And you're going to sell the tickets assuming he's coming. And what are you going to pay big prices knowing that there's a chance he doesn't show?
Dude, I get making the schedule is hard. It's not easy. There's a lot of things, building availability, all that stuff, but that's a botch job.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It sucks for people in Toronto. Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to put it. All right, here's Darren Dreger at TSN. Hockey Insider, you got any sway with Major League Soccer, Dregs, where we can get Messi up here in the summer, or what?
Yeah, I'll get right on that, Brian.
Okay.
I think I have lots of influence in the soccer world.
I love it. Yeah, call up the commissioner and just start poking away.
Yeah,
see what you could do for us. Anyway, as for the Leafs, where they're at, they lost last night, but it's been a good run, Dregs. As you know, prior to last night, they were 10-1-4, I think, in their last 15. Yet everyone's talking goalies up here. And, we've talked a lot about the defense, and I think it's been publicly stated by Trey Living and others. Like, they're looking into that, and they likely will acquire something there. What about the goaltending carousel here? Like, how confident do you think the front office is in Wall, Samsonov, Jones? Like, is that it the rest of the way, or could something pop up where they might have to look into that market?
Well, I mean, it only pops up through necessity, and I don't believe that they're there yet. And I apologize because I haven't listened to the entire show, so I might be repeating the ground that you've covered. I mean, if I look specifically to last night, I mean, I didn't see that as a goaltending issue. I mean, how many pucks beat Marty Jones? I mean, their deflections, their pucks off skates, all of that, and other issues. The goalie issue, if it's an issue, is Ilya Samsonov, right? Because when you tried to sneak Marty Jones through waivers, which is really what Brad Treliving tried to do and was successful in doing, you were just thinking, oh man, he is a perfect, plan C or D. Not that he would be plan B or plan A. And all of a sudden, he is plan A, or so it looks. I mean, last night excluded, and again, I think we've already established why that would be. They're hoping, of course, you're hoping that all your players stay healthy. That's not the case with Joe Woll. Samsonov had the green light to get his game back on track and potentially own the crease until further notice. And he just hasn't been able to do that. When he came back, and they had that really good game not that long ago, a couple of weekends ago against the Nashville Predators, he was solid, but the team played really well in front of him. So I don't think that there's been a shift there. There's a level of disappointment. There's hope that Samsonov, kind of finds a way. He's going to be given the net just through necessity, but it's not desperation yet. And I don't think it's desperation defensively either. I didn't think the D played very well last night. I have time for Timmins. I do, but he's turning into a little bit more of a gambler than you would want him to be. So I think they like the work ethic of that defensive core, but that still remains, the priority for Brad Treliving to upgrade at some point.
Dregs, where are you at with a lot of the chatter of trades? I think it's the freeze tonight. I can't remember.
It's already
last
in
night.
It.
So, all you hear, especially me being out on the road, you hear a lot of chatter. I'm sure you've heard a lot of chatter. At what point do you think some of these teams pull the trigger where it's, instead of waiting into January, February, there's some teams that are kind of looking up at the standings, or at least looking at their team going, we need to add immediately and not wait a month. Do you sense there's some more urgency in managers?
Well, there's urgency, Noodles, for sure. But, I guess from a buyer perspective, most of these guys, and let's include Brad Treliving in this group, they haven't found that sweet spot yet. And that sweet spot is more of a financial sweet spot than it is anything else. I'm sure management and the coaching staff want to give the Maple Leafs defense as much credit as they can, but they've got 7, 8, 9, 10 guys playing on their blue line in the National Hockey League. So it becomes more of a level of urgency as you creep into 2024. The sweet spot, though, comes in where you can make the salary cap work. And that's either days that have been burned off, creeping closer to March 8th and the playoffs, or it's a team recognizing that, all right, well, the market isn't as strong as we were hoping, so we'll take whatever your pick or whatever your prospect is or whatever asset you're willing to give or collection of to make that deal. I do sense that there was a lot of chatter up to the roster freeze, but that's also not abnormal. And, we look at certain markets that are, looking for assets, not just Toronto. I look at Colorado as a team that wants to improve the middle of the ice, and so that now shifts us over to the Calgary Flames, who we know have, what they have on the back end that's potentially in play in Hannafin, but they also have Lindholm that's generating a bit of a buzz. Maybe not as much of a buzz as the Flames were hoping, just given, the way he's playing. So there's lots of back and forth, lots of discussions, but I didn't get the sense leading up to last night's deadline that there was anything close.
Dregs, you can tell how much Daniel Alfredsson cares about the Sens organization because by all accounts, it sounds like he's had a pretty cushy little after hockey life, and now he's in this role where he's in the grind of it every single day. Like, what's the long-term outlook there on Alfie and what his role could be? Like, do you see a scenario where he kind of stays involved longer than people may have thought?
Yeah, I do, Frankie, but how many kids do you have? 1, 2?
Zero, right?
So Alfie has, I think, 4, maybe 5, and they range in age, right?
Right.
What I know, and this isn't what I think, what I know is that Alfie has given the Ottawa Senators till the end of the year. That's his commitment as an assistant coach. Do I think or believe that there's a chance that, that could be extended or elevated? For sure I do. No question. And we saw him on the bench last night too, right? Like, game 1 as an assistant coach for the Ottawa Senators, and he is in the ear of players as they're coming off the ice.
He was giving it to Kastelik.
Yeah. We were talking about it last night. Like, I was like, holy smokes. Like, he came ready. Like, both barrels loaded. Let's get at it. We're going to do this for real. So what I wonder about, like, do I see a place where things go pretty well, if not great? How do we know? We don't know that. I mean, last night was a glimpse, and they gave up 3 in the third. So, all right, it's going to get better. We know this. Do I think, given the way I know that Mike Landauer and then by extension Steve Stales want to embrace what they have internally, there's a chance that Daniel Alfredsson can be the next head coach of the Sens? Yeah, I can envision it. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's probable, but I can see that. But it's, I'm going back to my chirp at you, Frankie. It's more about where's Alfie's life at that point. Right. He doesn't do anything kind of half-hearted. So, it's not like his family has disappeared or is going to disappear. If he can commit to being the assistant coach and helping Jacques, and with all due respect, Jacques is a 71-year-old guy. He needs help. Coaching, being a head coach in the NHL, more or less is a young man's game. It is. So Alfie's going to pour us all into the remainder of this season. And if the results are there and if he wants to be a head coach, I can see it. I can see it for sure.
Where do you see the future of DJ Smith going here, Dregs?
Spot on OverDrive every once in a while.
I'd love to have him on. He's a great guy. He's a fun guy.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, no, and I say that tongue in cheek, of course, because I get all the time in the world for DJ, and I give him full credit for enduring everything that he has. Now he got the opportunity to be an NHL head coach in Ottawa, so he doesn't take that lightly, nor should he. Did he go through tumultuous times? Come on. Like, of course he did, and learned tons. Do I think he's capable of being or will be an NHL head coach? Yes, I do. But I also think that not only is he grateful for the opportunity, the years that he spent on that bench, but I think he needs a reset too, right? He's not going to like fade into the sunset. He's going to reset. He's going to spend time with his family, as Craig Berube and Jay Woodcroft and Dean Evison. All these guys do that as soon as they're let go. I think he gets another opportunity. Now, does he get an NHL head coaching job right out of the gate? I'm not confident of that. I'm not. But, man, if he steps on a bench where an associate position is needed, or you're wondering about this coach or that coach, and he's willing to go into that environment, then I don't think there's any question that he'll be back in the near future.
DJ would be a really good assistant coach. Like he was in Toronto, and I actually think under a different head coach, you would kind of see more of DJ. Like under Babs, it was Babs' show, and you just kind of abide by what he wants to do. Like with the experience he has now, he would be really good in that assistant position.
But don't you think, like, I had a manager say this to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but when you get fired in Canada, you're under a light, like there's almost a little bit of a smell on you, like a little bit of a stench, and it takes a little bit longer than, say, you've got let go in Carolina or somewhere else.
Right.
Like, so you look at Travis Green. Travis Green's now an associate coach in New Jersey. It took a little bit for the process to get back. Yeah. And you know what? We'll blink one day and Travis Green will be a head coach again.
He should be.
But I think that's the pathway for DJ Smith. I think he's going to – it might take a little bit, and then he'll resurface as an associate coach somewhere else in a market where there is a head coach, and it's like, oh, DJ Smith is hired. Because it's funny, in my travels, I'll look at a bench Dominic Ducharme has a job. Like, like you're looking at it like, oh, that guy, last I saw, he was the head coach of Montreal Canadiens. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he's an associate coach or assistant coach. Like, it takes time. And I think that's where the pathway for DJ is probably next year or halfway through next season. Like, he ends up on a bench for somebody, but as an associate, and then he works his way back into the head coach chair.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I saw a list online about like the previous coaches in Ottawa that didn't show up anywhere else, as a head coach, and it's kind of a similar run in Buffalo, where like we were linking the two at the top of the show, Dregs, where you got Buffalo and Ottawa, two teams that have been at the bottom of the standings for years. Every offseason, it's the same story. This is it. They're finally going to do it, and now Ottawa fired DJ Smith. Granado's getting catcalls last night. Like it never stops in these two markets.
No, it doesn't. And, doesn't it just show, though, how long it takes to go through a full rebuild in the National Hockey League? Not, picking at the edges and trying to improve on the fly and all of that. So if I dig in on Buffalo, and Noodles, correct me if I'm wrong here again, because I am... I stay away from goaltenders just because mostly I don't understand it. But, I think they felt like Devin Levi was coming in and he was going to be, the answer. And instead they go with 3 young goalies and nobody proven. And automatically, and then you run into injury trouble with Tage Thompson and Jack Quinn, so 2 top 6 forwards. Yeah, Skinner was hurt. Your defense is young, still very young. It's going to be excellent. I think we all agree. Like the Sabres defense is going to be really, really good in the not too distant future. But all of a sudden, all of those things start to pile on top of each other. And I'm not suggesting, Brian, that you're hinting this, but certainly others have. Now we're looking at Donnie Granato. All right, like how many bullets does Kevin Adams have? He's gone through coaches. He has made big trades. I think that he's building a pretty good team. I do. And it's unfortunate that the success they had last year, I think most of us thought was going to carry over into this year, and Buffalo was going to be a team that was, kind of making a move in the East. Probably say the same, of course, about Ottawa. Maybe about Detroit has been more sustainable, although they're still on the outside looking in. But, I just think that the media world automatically looks at, okay, well, this team isn't doing nearly as well as they should. So, there's got to be some sort of drastic change. Well, Ottawa went through it. Ownership, they fired Pierre Dorian. They wanted him to go through the end of the year. They fired DJ Smith and Davis Payne, wanted those guys to go to the end of the year. Well, what are you left with now? You're left with a team that isn't going to make the playoffs. And are you sure that it's the right roster for a year like the next year? No, and I think that's where Kevin Adams is at and the Buffalo Sabres ownership is at in Buffalo. It's a tough environment across the board.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, we'll see what comes of it, Dregs. Always appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, boys. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. We're going to head down to Scotiabank, catch up with our buddy Jack Armstrong. Jack's got to be feeling good about his Bills, too, right? Has to be feeling good about his Bills. And
are they favorites? Like, are they? I mean,
they're getting there. They're playing the Chargers this weekend. Like, they should crush that team.
They got to dummy the Chargers with.
Well, the
Easton
Chargers
Stick.
lost.
Yeah.
Was it 63? What was it?
Yes.
63.
63-21, and like
that was Vegas. That ended them, right? That
ended Staley. The GM got fired. Like everyone, it was so disgusting.
The Bills are kind of back, but it almost seems like it's not a one-man show, but it's as far as Josh Allen's going to take them. Like it kind of just seems like he's willing them along here after some people, us included, were saying probably not a playoff team.
Well, they're 6-6. They had no control of any of the tie breaks, right? Which they still don't. But if you run the table and you end up 11-6, you're getting in. Obviously,
right? And then Josh Allen's in the MVP talk.
Absolutely. If he's rocking, and like their run game's improved greatly since they changed the OC. Their defense has been good on third down, very efficient. They seem to be rallying around McDermott, right? And the article that came out of Buffalo a couple of weeks ago, and we'll see. But we'll see what Jack can tell us about that. And the champs are in town. The Nuggets against the Raptors on TSN 4 tonight. We'll tee that up with Jack Armstrong as well. We'll do that next. All right, our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come. Raptors, Nuggets tonight. Jamal Murray back home. Last time we saw him, he was not a champion, so to speak, but now he is. And so is Nikola Jokic. And like Jokic is doing it again. We discussed who's the best player in basketball, who's the MVP. It seems like Jokic has reached a point where he's kind of separated himself. Like what LeBron was for a long time, kind of is what Jokic is now. He's just, all he does is put up ridiculous stats. He's unstoppable. He defends. He wins. I mean, everything across the board. It's like, how do you argue against Jokic being just the clear-cut best player in basketball right now?
Well, and Hayes, he just goes about it so quietly, too. It's just like a business-like approach for him. Yeah, just another one where he had a big night, a bunch of points, a bunch of blocks, assists. Like, I don't know, man. Like, every night you'll turn on – before I watch OverDrive, you watch NBA Today, it's like, there, Jokic did it again. Here's the Kendrick Perkins breakdown.
Triple-double,
and this guy
lock.
does it all the time.
Does he have a little bit of Tim Duncan in him as far as the way he is, like his personality and just kind of all business?
It's a really good comparison. Like the market, not a massive market, right? Like San Antonio, Denver. Obviously Duncan played a bit of a different style, bit of a different position. But yes, in terms of Jokic being just like a guy like Duncan, it was so unassuming, but it was so efficient. And then that's exactly what Jokic is.
Do you remember when didn't Duncan just retire and just like quit? Like, I'm out. Like they I know they gave him like a king send off, but like he didn't want it. Like I feel like he just retired and like that's it. Like,
more or less.
I can't remember how he went out.
I don't remember him getting the big tour like Kobe tour and
the
like
tour
this guy.
of that. Like I feel like he just packed it in and went away. And Jokic, when you look at him, he's not LeBron in the same. Like he's a physical specimen, but he's not chiseled.
No,
right? Like
he's not
that.
He's not at all.
He's just a big body, like big, thick body. Like it just. I like the guy.
He's creeping up there. Like in the NBA, it's constant conversation, like all-time best, blah blah blah, and to the point where it can get a little bit draining, like constantly comparing. I've seen it's been happening recently because Shaq, I think last night said, it's time to start talking about Steph Curry as maybe the greatest of all time, or in that conversation. And even Shaq said he would put Steph ahead of himself on the list. And then there's this discussion, well, where does Shaq rank? Just like it never it never stops in the NBA.
That's a tough conversation to have because Shaq was such a force, but like Shaq wasn't shooting the ball.
And different era too, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. Like he was unstoppable. Like when Shaq was in his prime in the late '90s, early 2000s, when he was in the mood, it was absurd what that guy was doing. Nobody could defend him. You double him, triple him. Like he was cerebral. He was a guy that he could move the ball around if he needed to. Famous for his lack of free throw shooting, but still he'd go to the line 20 times, 25 times without flinching. You'd send him there all the time, and
he'd have a couple air balls in there too. He was good for a few of those.
It was terrible. His career at the line was around 50%, I believe.
Yeah. Imagine how much better he would have been.
Yeah. Well, guys,
he was mean as hell.
He was mean. That was another thing. He was nasty, and like teams in the West would employ like a 12th man as a 7-footer, basically. Just go in, take your fouls, get the hell out. Like just foul him 6 times and leave, and put him to the line because there was a chance he was going to miss at that point. But Jokic, again, I don't know where he would rank in terms of the all-time great bigs, but he's moving up the list. Like every single year, he just improves and improves and improves, and now he's got a title. He's got multiple MVPs. It's crazy. And the champs are in town tonight on TSN. Here's our TSN Raptors and NBA analyst Jack Armstrong. How excited do you get for Jokic being in town, Jack?
Well, not only him, but Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Obviously, local kid and who's had an amazing career. And you look at Canada now, number 5 in the world. He's had a big part in the program, really, in their renaissance. So, and Jokic is just a sensational player. He's a guy you can run so many different actions through him, whether it be in the low post, mid post, high post, handoff, screen and roll actions, throw it to him in the post, splits on the perimeter, spot ups. He makes the other 4 guys so much better. He's big, strong, active, tough. They're just a really fun team to watch, and he and Murray in particular, just as elite a 2-man game as you'll find in the NBA right now.
So when you look at how you attack it tonight, and you certainly cannot simplify it, and you can't isolate one guy. But is this a scenario where Jakob Poeltl? We keep talking about the Poeltl acquisition, what they paid to get him, what they paid to keep him. Where does Poeltl come into play tonight? Simply with the matchup on Jokic.
Well, I think what you do is a guy like Poeltl can be pretty physical with him, and Jakob is the type of guy that is strong enough to guard him straight up. Obviously, when he was in the Western Conference with San Antonio, he would play him 4 times a year, not 2. So he's pretty comfortable playing against him. And I think what happens is you don't have to send as many double teams at Jokic, which when you do, you're in huge trouble because he picks you apart. So I think Jakob Poeltl can guard him post, mid post, high post, whatever. And Poeltl's got quick enough feet to guard on the screen and roll on the perimeter as well. So that's going to be a big part of their game, that he has to be effective there and doing a good job. He had limited minutes the other night, some turnovers early in the game hurt. And, they played a little bit smaller Charlotte, and the Raptors tried switching 1 through 5. A game like tonight when Jokic is on the floor, you probably want to have a little bit more of a traditional 5 out there with him in most instances. So that's going to be important. But, bottom line is Denver is a game under 500 as a road team. They played their second most road games in the NBA. So as good as they are, and I think the schedule is going to even out for them after this 3-game road trip, to me, they're a team that I think if you're going to beat them during the course of a season, this is the night you beat them here. The Raptors last year had 49 points in the first quarter and beat them here in Toronto. Obviously, the Raptors this year have really struggled in first quarters. So hopefully tonight, if you're a Raptor fan, you're hoping they come out and play with a lot of juice, a lot of energy. And you got to play with a lead when you play with a team like this.
Jack, you talk about Poeltl defensively, but what do guys like Pascal and Scottie need from Poeltl offensively to kind of help facilitate things a little more in that regard?
Well, the way they're using him, they get him in the mid-post a little bit as a passer. The challenge is sometimes people play off him and play the passing lanes and don't guard him. And so to me, I think maybe sometimes putting him, not the ball in his hands, and putting him in actions where he's screening for people, and then he can roll off of it and then make the next pass. So, and I think he does a great job of being very selfless and setting quality screens for teammates. So to me, I look at Barnes and Siakam this month of December. They're playing really well individually. They're playing really well together. In my opinion, there's no doubt that they can function together and play in the same sandbox. I have no question about that. I think for them to be at their optimum best, they need as much shooting around them as possible. And I think that's something that, from a roster perspective, as we go into the months ahead, I'm sure will be looked at.
With Jack Armstrong, our TSN Raptors analyst, Raptors Nuggets tonight on TSN. I'm noticing an online movement to get Scottie Barnes to the All-Star game, which, happens every year in every market. It's like, who's your guy? Who can we push to get there? But watching him play every night, Jack, like, he's playing like an all-star as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's not easy to crack that lineup. I get it. Only so many guys can go. But I've loved this game. He started strong. There was a bit of a dip, but recently I think he's come on strong. I thought he was great the other night. What do you make of Scottie and his prospects of kind of reaching further up the ladder in terms of the league's best players?
Well, a lot of the people that vote don't really watch the games. They just look at the stats. Well, if you're one of those voters, and if you look at his stats, I think his stats speak volumes about the fact that he's deserving of being an all-star. Then, if you actually are a basketball person, you actually watch the games, I think it's overwhelmingly favorable to his case that when you watch what he's doing in terms of the energy that he plays with, the deflections, the steals, the blocks, his improved defense, just the tenacity he's playing with, the leadership he's showing, his ability to score with his back to the basket, mid-post, shooting the ball from the perimeter, how selfless he is as a passer. I think all those little attributes are really cool to watch in terms of his development. So, yeah, I think so. The challenge always is, and right now we're, game 27 tonight, and the Raptors are 11-15. And, you have another guy who's been an all-star before, and Pascal Siakam a few times, an all-league player. How many guys can you get on an all-star team when you're 4 games under 500?
Right.
Winning should matter. On the other hand, I go back to what I said before. Some of it for those two guys is a little more difficult sometimes based upon, the different personnel groupings that are on the floor with them. And sometimes maybe they have to carry more of the load, which is fine. But sometimes you got to carry the load in very congested spaces because people are daring you to shoot threes as a team. So to me, I think both Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam, particularly Siakam after a bit of a rocky start to the season, adjusting to a new style of play, have played like all-stars. And I would hope both of them have a lot of momentum and gather a lot of respect and votes. It would be great to see one, if not both of them, get in.
Jack, you talk about Pascal Siakam, and there's a chance he could make some history tonight for the Raptors. He needs 4 more assists to pass Alvin Williams to be 5th on the all-time assist list for Raptors. Like, when it's all said and done, where is Pascal going to rank for you on the all-time list of great Raptors?
He's right up there. I mean, he's got a championship ring on his finger, and he was a very, very good player on that championship team. He's been an excellent story. So he's, day by day, we're witnessing it live, establishing himself as one of the great Raptors. And to me, I think his story is remarkable in terms of he was a soccer player as a kid, did not go to a basketball school. I mean, nobody considers New Mexico State, a powerhouse or a traditional place. And, 27 pick in the first round, and had quite a developmental story. And I give him a lot of credit for how hard he's worked, and he's a self-made man and has paid the price. And so it's great to see. And his game has really evolved so beautifully in terms of his passing and his awareness, his defense, rebounding, scoring. And to me, I think the one area that people look at a lot is obviously his three-point shooting, which has been streaky, which I understand. But that's why I say when you have a guy like that, and maybe he's never going to be a 40% three-point shooter, then the other spots around him got to be a little more of a pick-me-up mode to help him a little bit. But there have been, I said this a lot last season. There were so many passes he threw that he would have averaged another assist and a half a game if people could actually make the shot. So to me, I think he's doing about as much as you can do to help a team win. And, and there's always going to be the debate, is he a 1A guy, 1B guy? All I know is that he's one of the better players in the league. And I'm sure he'll be very well compensated, whether it be by the Raptors or one of the other 29 teams, whether it be in season by the Raptors or when we get into the off season next year.
How are we feeling about your Bills, Jack?
I'm feeling like they're trending in the right direction. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Mm-hmm. They just have so many injuries on the defensive side that concern me. So can they hold up when the competition gets better? But, they should have won against the Eagles. They played well against the Chiefs, and the Cowboys have won. Now you worry the next 2 weeks about, the Chargers coaching and GM change. They were completely embarrassed. You can't play to the level of competition. You got to come in. You got 3 playoff games coming up. You have to win all of them. Mm-hmm. And there's no assurances that they're going to get in the playoffs. They got to win them all. So no messing around, no playing down to the level of competition. You got to go in and be ruthless and win these 3 games one at a time, because they're all playoff games. And if they get in, they could be really dangerous.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to crush LA on Saturday, and then you got Belichick rolling through Western New York.
I'll tell you what, I'll just take 3 one-point wins. Somehow, some way, just win. In the words of Al Davis, just win, baby.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Hey, listen, Jack, they might get to Week 18 in Miami. That could be for the division, right? Miami's got Dallas this week. I think that is a tough game. Anything's possible.
No, it's great. It's exciting. I was at the game in Orchard Park on Sunday. The place was rocking. It was phenomenal. And all those arrogant, cocky Cowboy fans, they were all very, very quiet. They were all sitting down the last 3 quarters. So I don't feel too bad for them one bit.
Attaboy. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, we'll catch you on TSN tonight. Should be a fun game. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, buddy.
And if I don't talk to you before, Merry Christmas, guys. Have a great holiday.
Yep, you too, pal. Absolutely. There he is, Jack Armstrong, joining us here on OverDrive ahead of the Raptors Nuggets tonight. Jack was battling the weather, man. It was ugly weather in that Buffalo-Dallas game. That's a true hardcore fan.
Yeah,
Jack Armstrong.
At least it wasn't cold. I mean,
yeah, it was warm enough.
Yeah.
But you also, it was a 4:25 start. That means the tailgate probably starts around 10 a.m.
It's a shift. It's a shift.
Yeah,
big
it's a big
time.
shift. They don't mess around down there. So, believe that is a Hayes and Bro game. The Bills laying like 11.5 in L.A. We'll see what the tremendous information has to say about
big
that.
Number, man.
Mix in a gut instinct. Yeah, well, listen, we've got big shoes to fill here, but we are chugging, man. We went 5-0 on our picks. I think it was last week. 4-0 on our picks. I guess we picked 5 or 6 in a row. And
you guys are doing well. You got the bot farm going. You've got a lot of misinformation out there, fake news. You're rallying people around you guys. It's like the Donnie Trump campaign all over again.
Listen, and that shocked the world, right? No one saw that one coming. But then you realize, you look back, you're like, actually, now that I think about it, there were a lot of people were kind of on that bandwagon. So anything's possible at this point. All right, we'll get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel. Again, tee up the Raptor game again. Leafs in action against Buffalo tomorrow, Thursday night or tomorrow as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. SGP for the Raptor game tonight. Nuggets money line. You probably play the points. They didn't play last night. I know they haven't been great on the road, like Jack just said, but it's the Nuggets, it's Jokic, it's Murray. The Raptors have struggled this year. But if you're going to parlay it, Nuggets money line, Jamal Murray 20-plus points, Jokic 10-plus assists. I fully expect a triple-double out of Jokic tonight, which you could bet also. But I like that parlay. Nuggets money line, Murray 20-plus points, Jokic 10-plus assists. Today's best bet's powered by FanDuel. The sweat begins at tip-off by betting your favorite NBA star to score the first basket or go for 30-plus points in a same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. Must be 18-plus. Physically located in Ontario. Do you guys bet on Alex Ovechkin scoring a goal tonight?
I'd like to see him get one.
I'd like to see it. I don't know. Like, we've been talking about it for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, all right, eventually I do think it's going to happen. So why not tonight? It's a back-to-back situation for the Islanders. You're going to get Varlamov in net instead of Sorkin. I think Washington.
They don't score a lot, Noodles. Like Washington, they're playing better. They just don't score very much.
Feels like 2-1, 3-2 every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
But good for Carberry to get that team playing better because that was an ugly start to the year for them. So, and it bodes well for him to do well for like young coaches. I think he's the youngest coach in the league. He gets an opportunity. It's good if he does well.
Right, and it's an aging roster, kind of past their prime. Can you get something out of them? It's probably good value to keep hammering Ovi to score because, like, at some point it's going to happen here. It's been 13
but
games
you look
in
at
a row.
You look at their, like, I'm just looking at their, like, standings. They played 28 games, 15, 9-4, 607 winning percentage.
Yeah.
The one thing that stands out, -10. You're right. Like, they don't score a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, they're
keeping it out.
For a team that, exactly. Like, for a team that, we watched them early in the year. You're like, God, they're like old and slow, but they're hanging in there. Like they are. A lot of those teams are kind of lumped in. Carolina's had a resurgence. They come off that road trip and gotten going now. Jersey, Pittsburgh, like it's just Columbus is the one that's kind of falling.
They're
off
doing
the rails.
weird stuff there, Noodles. They're doing
are.
like Fantilli's the first line center, then he's on the fourth line the next night. I don't understand why all the erratic movement in the lineup with all these young guys. Then some nights those young guys are playing 8 minutes. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff happening in Columbus.
Smells of something behind the scenes there.
Well, you got a makeshift coach effectively who wasn't supposed to be the coach, right? Like and he gets thrown in there. You have to believe there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen down there.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's chaotic in Columbus.
Hey, Noodles, I got a question for you. Do you know who Doug Roach is?
That name sounds so familiar.
Look at this, look at that.
Look at this, look at that guy.
We haven't had Noodles on the show since we've had these drops, this clip.
Yeah, it's been established.
What did you do? He shoots a room, Daddy!
Oh, I saw that online. The guy
Everywhere.
like going nuts on that goal. What was he like? Was he? Is that a junior? Where was that?
Yeah,
a junior
it's like
game?
provincial junior, like junior B, somewhere in Manitoba.
I saw that. You know what? And I didn't listen to the whole drop. Like once he started yelling and screaming,
It's
I'm like, all right,
outstanding.
this
It's
is
outrageous.
Boom goes the dynamite.
He's like a cult hero there, though. They love him. He's a high school teacher. He does
Yeah.
the junior games, and he's roof daddy. Look at this. Look at
Look at
that.
this,
Banana
look at that.
split. This guy's
He's got
outrageous.
everything, man. This guy, like, if you need to add something to your calls, Noodles, that's the guy. That's the scouting
Maybe I'll
trick.
add that in. Maybe. So, what term should I try and work in tomorrow?
Roof daddy
night?
would be the
Roof
easiest
daddy.
one.
Roof daddy.
So
Roof daddy's
good.
easy because somebody needs to go under the bar.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
roof
what
daddy,
exactly?
that's
Let's say Timmy Stützle has a nice little rush, maybe inside outside kind of move, and then you go, here's Timmy Stützle, a lot of speed through the neutral zone. Look at this, look at that. He goes roof daddy.
There you go.
And
Mix
now it's
and match a
1-0
little
Sens, 15 minutes left in the first.
I might not
Perfect.
make it through the call. I'll be laughing out loud. Didn't I win what was the name of that award that we had years ago?
The
Didn't
Elmer
I win
Fudd.
one?
Yeah, the Elmer
Elmer
Fudd
Fudd
Awards.
because I said a half chance on the Leaf game or something like that.
Yeah, we were trying to manipulate the calls. You did that. Matt Devlin mixed something in for us, and
Didn't Ray have one, like a
Ray did too.
tantalizing counterattack?
Yeah.
That might have been one of them.
it was like top buckets or something like that too. There was a bunch of it was soccer lingo and
I was just told by our producer. He says, if you say roof daddy, you're done. We'll pull you off air.
see you
So
later. I don't blame you. Like roof daddy is it's such a ridiculous term.
it's such a greasy term
Yeah,
too.
roof
Like-
daddy.
Roof daddy.
Just roof daddy. It's
what's
so
he doing?
stupid.
He's going to split the D.
Yeah, roof daddy.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
I might sneak it in now.
Yeah,
Who
see what
knows?
you can do.
Look at this, look at that.
Man, they need a win tomorrow, Ottawa. Man, do they need a win in
terrified
They're
Colorado.
for
grumpy
them,
in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's game 6 of this, run here, this 5-game road trip, and Colorado is irritated on home ice.
Awful.
I'm worried.
Not good.
I'm worried.
Well, we'll see what Ottawa's got. The Leafs are in action tomorrow as well. All right, Noodles, you're back Friday, I think.
Friday. Yeah.
Yeah,
See you
okay, there
Friday.
you go. Frankie, you're in here tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll be in here tomorrow. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Going Roof Daddy at 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.